Very, very excited to have Suzie on. So I remember Suzie joined, I think she was one of the last people to join. I think she joined on like Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve this year. She has had an incredible journey and has been incredibly generous with her sharing, as I'm sure she will be again today. So please give Suzie a super warm welcome in the chat, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing Suzie's presentation.
Thank you, Callum. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Hi to everybody on the call. Just to let you know, I was on one of these workshops back in November, and that was really what made my decision to join Veblen pretty soon after that, as Callum mentioned. So that was the beginning of my board journey, effectively. I'm going to move fairly swiftly on because I think a lot of what's on this slide is covered on one of the others. So let's move on to the next one. Oh, there we go. Oh, gone too far. There we go. Right. Okay. So I'm Suzie Harvey. I currently hold 5 board positions. So as Callum said, I joined in sort of back end of last year. I didn't really get going till January. But I'm now on 5 boards. I'm a chair of the board for Evidence to Impact, which is a public health company based in the UK. I'm a board advisor for Nordic AI, which is an AI and mental health company based out of Norway. I'm a board advisor for LabShare AI, which is for the life science research industry and is also based on AI. And that is headquartered in Texas. I'm also on the board for Home from Home Care Homes, which is a UK company, again, in the public health area. And my most recent one is a guest director for Maltix, which is a networking company headquartered in Malta in Europe, and also based on an AI approach to improving networking and making that more effective, which we've all seen is so important. So very keen to be part of that. In addition to that, I'm also a charity trustee. I'm also a parish councillor, and I'm a governor for the NHS as well. So all of those are voluntary roles, which will continue to be voluntary and have been tremendous training for me on board roles. So don't knock these non-profit sectors. They're really, really strong for training you in board and governance. So the way I think about what I offer to boards and the way to work on boards is really all about creating clarity, and that's something that's become evident to me really as I've gone through working in my board roles. I suddenly realized what's tying all this together is actually creating clarity for the board members, for the leadership, clarity on where they're going, clarity on understanding numbers. So it's all about clarity. And I do think that's where boards can really add the value. And then using that clarity to guide strategy. So strategy is something I'm very passionate about, and passionate about getting right, getting discussions going on, making sure that we have a strategy in place and we're continuing to develop and update that strategy as the world around us changes, which obviously is very fast and gets faster as we go on. And ultimately, that's to drive growth and impact. So those are the 2 areas where I bring a lot of expertise. So growth is my background in my executive role in sales and marketing, and I'm all about driving impact. That's what brings me the satisfaction in the board roles that I take on. I want to be able to make an impact. And what I would say to you, and I think this echoes a lot of what other people have been saying on this call, is never underestimate your value. Every single one of you on this call has value that you can bring to a board. I can absolutely guarantee that. And it's just thinking about it and understanding what that value is. And as Archita was saying, knowing how to articulate that when you're talking to people about board roles. So feel free to connect with me. There's a QR code there. Happy to chat to you all on LinkedIn. But let's move on to the next one. Let's jump too far again. Sorry, very slow response to my computer today. Okay, so my background, so this is my boardroom journey. My background is actually in global commercial leadership in the life science and health tech area. So that's where I've spent the last 30 years. I actually started off in academic research in universities in the UK and also in Australia, moved very quickly into the commercial world. And then my non-executive board journey really started with my trustee role for a small local charity just around the corner from me, and also becoming a parish councillor. And I started that last year, and that's really when I decided, you know, this is actually what I want to move on to next beyond my executive role. Joining Veblen was a way to accelerate my non-executive portfolio absolutely for sure. It was a game changer for me. I worked through last year thinking, you know, yes, I think as Vic said, you know, we can probably all do this ourselves, but I was swimming around not really knowing what direction to go in, how to do certain bits, what order to do everything in. And none of this is rocket science, but Veblen just puts it down in the right order, makes sure that you're doing all the bits that need to lead towards that you need to have in place in order to get to a board role. And also there are board roles that come into Veblen that you have access to and that you can apply for. So 2 of my board roles actually came through the Veblen job board, so I would not have seen those if I hadn't been part of the Veblen organisation. One came through networking with a Veblener. That was actually in my first week. So I actually secured my first board role through having a networking introductory call with another Veblen member of the Veblen community by the Friday of the first week that I started working on the Veblen programme. And one came as a result of using the Veblen training to work my own network that I already had before joining Veblen. So that was actually my board chair role that came that way. So I told my network I was looking for board roles, and this one came along. Would you be interested? I can connect you. Yes, please. And away we went. Okay, let me just give it a chance to move on. Can somebody move the slides for me? Because I think they're moving very slowly from my side. Thank you. Okay, so the 5 components. I think a lot of people have mentioned connections, and I would say that is the biggest piece for me. So connections, making sure I'm connecting with people in my own network and also in the Veblen network. So my own network is bringing me connections to move into board roles, and so is the Veblen network. So both of those networks really important in my progress. So some of the knowledge that I've gathered along the way. So you definitely don't have to be a founder or C-suite. I've not had experience of either of those. I can still be an effective board member and a trusted chair to a CEO, having not been a CEO myself. Recruiters only see a tiny minority of board roles. So if you're thinking of going through the recruitment direction, yes, some will go that way. It's a very, very small minority of the number of board roles out there. So don't just rely on that. And they tend to be focused in particular areas, public sector, larger companies, and so on. Be active on LinkedIn. That gets you everywhere. So people who know me have probably getting sick of the amount I'm doing on LinkedIn over this last year. But you know, a lot of people are also telling me they're enjoying it and they're learning a lot more about me than they knew before. So I'm sharing a lot on LinkedIn now, and that's raising my profile and just getting more people to look at my profile. That's all you need. And then once they look at your profile, they see what you can offer, and then there's an interest in offering you a board role. The other thing it's given me is freedom. So I really didn't feel I had this level of freedom when I was working for a single company in an executive role. It's given me the freedom to enter new industries that I've never been part of before. So a lot of the kind of AI technology, pure technology industry, unrelated to healthcare, that I can now be part of. And it's given me the freedom to share my knowledge more widely than I was allowed to before. The other thing I've learned is I need to follow my values. That's where I get satisfaction and enjoyment, and yeah, that's where my passion is. So I'm always about, you know, does this company align with my values? Profile. So looking at your profile, what you do. So add every update to LinkedIn. Don't be reticent about adding updates. If you've got a new qualification, you've spoken at an event, you've been part of a webinar, like this, just share it on LinkedIn that you've been part of this and what you thought. So any kind of updates, just continue to raise your profile on LinkedIn. Be yourself on LinkedIn. So don't try and be whatever you have this idea that a board member should be and how they should act on LinkedIn. Be yourself, because that will bring out your values and help you to find companies that you align with. Use free tools to improve your profile. So I know that you're going to get one of them from Callum, which I've used a lot, and it's really helpful to help improve your profile. And use them repeatedly as well. So don't just do it once and think that's done and dusted. Probably do it every 3 months or so. You can also use AI to look at your about section and see if it can improve it. So can you give it the information and see if it can improve your about section? And again, do that every few months. So value. So think about what you can bring. So I think several people have mentioned life experience. I think that's a really, really important part of this. So bring your life experience into your board work. That's a big part of the value that you can bring, as well as the work experience. And I would say those are the biggest need that I see. My life science background is what attracts companies to me. But actually, it's my business skills and probably a lot of my life experience and just general work experience that I use most in my day-to-day board work. And then for leverage, so how to use what you're doing to move on to the next step. Talk about your board roles and achievements on LinkedIn. This makes you attractive for other board roles. So do that as much as possible. So I can't reiterate enough doing more and more on LinkedIn. And that's something Veblen's really helped me to do that, because I wasn't a natural on LinkedIn. I'm not a natural at creating content. I've learned how to do that and how to be comfortable with it. Okay, on to the next slide. Great, thank you. So what have I learned? So what are the lessons and future goals? So I would say I've gained strong board chair experience through this year. So yes, I've been a chair on lots of executive boards through my executive life. And it's just, it's chairing a board with a slightly different flavor, basically, is a board chair experience. So I can now use that leverage to apply for other board chair roles. I've developed broad governance and risk management expertise, so that comes into every single board role that you're on, whatever company it is, whatever role you're playing on that board. You're constantly thinking about governance and risk management for them and alerting them to any pitfalls, but also any opportunities, any positive opportunities they might be missing. I've become a trusted partner to the CEOs and the board chairs that I work with. And I've also developed some niche board expertise at the intersection of life science and healthcare with AI, because with the explosion of AI, that's really, really taking off at the moment. And I didn't have that opportunity when I was in my executive role. I was working in technology and healthcare, but to be able to work at the intersection of AI now is new knowledge for me, new opportunity for me, and is giving me a little bit of a niche. And I'm seeing people coming to me because they can see I'm in that niche. So what I'm looking for next, I'm really looking for companies that are ready to scale. So at the moment, I'm working with some very small companies, trying to make sure that we develop, consistent pipeline. But I'm looking for a company that's got at least one product solidly on the market, looking to really grow now. And I'm also interested in the environmental space. Anybody who follows me will start to see that I'm starting to post a lot more on the environmental area, and that's something that I want to be able to serve boards on as well. So thank you very much, Callum. That's all from me.